This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin FREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol, live. It's a freaking Wednesday. I just sent my number to some right-winger who went through and laughed at all my shit for like the past 4 or 5 days. Probably took him a little bit. He put some effort into that. He said I would regret it. Well, let's see this regret. Let's start the show off with a phone call. I'm begging you. Come at me, bitch. I want it. I can taste it. If not, we'll have to talk about the news. What got going on tonight? Glenn Beck has an uncomfortable truth for us. I cannot wait to hear what that is. It's probably just going to be an advertisement, much like Dan Bongino's thing that was going to make the left lose it that we watched last night. Ben Shapiro is going to try to make fun of AOC and her COVID post on Instagram. Omicron hit U.S. hospitals harder than other countries. Biden administration announced 400, nope, I'm way off on that. 40 million masks will be sent out for free. We're going to watch Tom Cotton go back and forth with several Democrats about ending the filibuster. The Biden administration is wanting to put an end to the Betsy DeVos agenda with education. I'm here for it. Plus, we're going to cover the press conference that Biden held earlier today. Marathon, it went for like 2 hours. If I knew that it was going to go for 2 hours and he was going to take questions and everything, I would have covered that shit live. We're going to catch the highlights here tonight. But you know the way I feel about listening to Biden speak. We almost never get through a whole video here on the show. But apparently, Ducey, the White House press reporter for Fox, not Steve Ducey, Peter Ducey? Peter Ducey's his name? Asked Biden why he is taking the country so far left. What a stupid fucking question. We're going to talk about the Italian Senate, which was apparently interrupted by some hentai. Apparently Final Fantasy hentai. Warlord actually hit me with the story right about the time we were going on last night. I had no clue it had happened, but I found out about it when I got over here, and in several of the Final Fantasy groups I was in, they made mention of it. It's like, maybe we need to check this out. We're also going to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu and his plea deal for corruption in Israel. And the New York Attorney General has some bad news for one Mr. Donald Trump. Not the only bad news Donald Trump got today, or in the last 24 hours, I should say. Man, he said I was going to regret that. Am I getting a phone call? Do I not have I have not gotten a phone call. Where's this regret at? So, he says he's going to post my phone number, which, I never check unless I'm actually on the air. Says he's going to post it in every gay bar and... Okay, what do you say? Hold on, I'll let you guys see. This is hilarious. Idiots, man. Where the fuck? Oh, you were going to regret that. I thought he was going to give us a call. He says he's going to post it in every truck stop and gay bar he can find. Sure, he frequents a lot of gay bars. Why would I care? I mean, if we got some fun phone calls out of it. I try to get him to call in here. Why so many right-wingers are like, your last name is Muffins? Well, first of all, my last name is not Muffins. It's actually a joke about what things autocorrect my real last name to. Idiots. Somebody was like, I can't talk to somebody who has an anime profile picture. I do not have an anime profile picture. I take pictures from the news and I put muffins into them. Not an anime profile picture. Actually, far more hilarious than what they give me credit for. Dude wanted to fucking have an argument, I thought. Oh shit. Should I video chat him? Voice chat him over here? Come on. Should I do it? Should I do it? I don't know how I've got things hooked up. Let's see if we can do it. We'll voice chat him. We won't video chat him. He might be a little shy. No answer! Doesn't want to talk to us. He asked me who the fuck I think I am. I'm a formidable voice in the culture, according to the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh, sir. That's who the fuck I am. Came to my page like you wanted some. You laughed at fucking... How many posts? At least 20, maybe 30. Well, Matt Walsh didn't call me a beta male cuck. He called me a formidable voice in the culture. Come on, talk to us, dude. Fucking talk to us. Come on. Ah, shit. Well, I'm sure this is entertaining for you guys, so might as well knock it off. Will the real sweet baby please stand up? Man, they're really attacking Dan Crenshaw now. What's up with that? Ooh! Ooh, Dan Crenshaw stickers. That's a great idea. Oh shit. I'm sorry, I'm fucking with somebody on Facebook over here. Trying to get them to call in. They ain't doing it. Unfortunately. See who we've got joining the hive mind over here. Waffen SS. I have a feeling you're going to get kicked pretty quickly. But thank you for being a freaking follower. Holy shit. With a name like that, you could go work for the WWE apparently, because they renamed one of their wrestlers who didn't need a name change after a Nazi. Fucking wild. I have no clue why they did. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to get the dude to call in apparently. This is the dude. Like, just came to my page minutes before I came on as I was eating a ham roll up. Oh shit. Already run down what we're talking about? Yeah, I've ran down what we're talking about. Let's get to the news, I guess. Big news. Came like just before midnight last night. This is nope, wrong one. Came just a couple of hours ago. The Supreme Court has rejected Trump's bid to shield records from the January 6th committee. The Supreme Court has rejected former President Donald Trump's bid to use executive privilege to block a House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection from accessing a trove of records created by Trump's White House. No, not a euphemism. It's cream cheese in ham. Very good. Now, my mom always used to use this vegetable medley cream cheese shit you could buy. Had like celery and carrots, and it was good too. I just use regular old cream cheese. The ruling on Wednesday opens up a trove of documents to congressional investigators who have sought them to determine Trump's actions and mindset in the weeks leading up to the January 6th attack, as well as what he did as his supporters were rioting at the Capitol. Cheered them on. Among the documents sought by the committee are speech drafts, call and visitor logs, handwritten notes, and other files previously kept by senior Trump aides like Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Advisor Stephen Miller, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, and White House Associate Counsel Patrick Philbin. The only member of the High Court who signaled he would have granted Trump's request for emergency relief was Justice Clarence Thomas, whose wife is wrapped up in all this shit. Apparently, she wrote some kind of a letter saying that the January 6 rioters did nothing wrong. Now, I had shared out a meme the other day about how Ginny Thomas, I guess Ginny Thomas, was actually involved in the planning for January 6th, and Facebook marked that as wrong. Even though she was 100% involved with the groups that did plan it, they said there was no evidence that she herself was involved in the planning of the January 6th insurrection. Fair enough, Facebook. However, she is indeed linked to the organizations that did plan and organize the January 6th insurrection. Splitting hairs. Trump had sought to block access to more than 750 pages of records that the National Archives, which housed the former president's records, determined were relevant to the January 6th committee's investigation. The records include draft text of a presidential speech from January 6th, 2021, the Save America March, a handwritten list of potential or scheduled briefings and telephone calls concerning election issues, a draft executive order concerning election integrity, a draft proclamation honoring deceased Capitol Police officers Brian Sicknick and Howard Liebengood, and associated emails from the Office of the Executive Clerk, which related to the Select Committee's interest in the White House's response to the Capitol attack. Now, the other story I was referring to that broke just before midnight last night was the New York Attorney General alleging significant evidence of Trump Organization fraud. Could be signaling that criminal charges are indeed coming Trump's way. The New York Attorney General filed a motion on Tuesday seeking to compel former President Trump and his two elder children to appear for sworn testimony in her office's civil investigation. I'm sorry, this isn't the criminal investigation. My apologies. The civil investigation. The criminal investigation is in the Southern District of New York. My apologies. So many investigations into Trump, it's easy to get them mixed up. Her office's civil investigation into the Trump organization's financial dealings. Attorney General Letitia James revealed new details in the court filings and a statement on her office's investigation into the Trump organization's business practices, including a preliminary finding alleging the company used fraudulent and misleading asset valuations to obtain economic benefits. The actual tweet says, "We have uncovered significant evidence indicating that the Trump organization used fraudulent and misleading asset valuations on multiple properties to obtain economic benefits, including loans, insurance coverage, and tax deductions for years. Donald Trump Jr., and Ivanka Trump have all been closely involved in the transactions in question, so we won't tolerate their attempts to evade testifying in this investigation." Eric ain't going to be involved because Eric too stupid to do anything. Let's turn now to some international news. Trump's buddy, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his own corruption investigation. The Netanyahu plea talks enter crunch time. Reading from Axios here, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's opposition leader and former prime minister, is negotiating a possible plea deal over the corruption charges against him, but Attorney General Avicii Mendelbilt appears to be toughening his terms. Good on him. Fuck Netanyahu. Mendelbilt leaves office on January 31st. Negotiations could continue beyond that point, but the next attorney general may be less interested in quickly reaching a deal. During his secret negotiations with the attorney general, Netanyahu recruited one of his political nemesis, former Supreme Court Justice Aaron Barak, to lobby Mendelbilt in favor of a plea deal. When Barak's intervention came to light, it shocked many on the political right, who had been attacking the judge for years for pulling the court in a more activist direction, and many on the left who couldn't believe Barak would lobby in favor of Netanyahu after his attacks on the Israeli legal system. How much money he got thrown his way. Mendelbilt and Barak have both faced heavy criticism in the press and within the legal establishment over the potential deal. According to Israeli press reports, Mendelbilt toughened his position in part due to pressure from the prosecutors in Netanyahu's trial. The attorney general is now demanding that Netanyahu agree to exit politics for 7 years. Just for 7 years! And to a sentence of 7 to 9 months in prison to be served as community service. Fuck. This is just disgusting. We do not hold people in power to the same standard as we do fucking poor people. Netanyahu brought his wife and their 2 sons to a meeting earlier this week with his lawyers, apparently to persuade the family, which has appeared skeptical of any deal, to get on board. Netanyahu's lawyers have said in a statement that he won't agree to leave politics for 7 years, but it's unclear whether that's his real position or a negotiating tactic. Should have a clearer sense by the end of this week whether the parties are on track for a deal before Mendelbilt leaves office. Kind of sounds to me like I hope it doesn't happen before he leaves office. We get somebody who is more favorable to holding Netanyahu accountable. Move over to Italy. An Italian Senate meeting was interrupted by Final Fantasy hentai. An interloper got on the virtual meet and played the video. For those of you not familiar with Final Fantasy, this is Tifa from Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. As is happening in all spheres, in all spheres, the Italian Senate currently conducts some of its business via virtual meetings. This Monday, a meeting was held during which various academic, medical, and scientific experts called in to present data to Italian senators, a typical day in national politics. That is until one miscreant managed to enter the meeting and stream a pornographic video of Final Fantasy VII's Tifa Lockhart. The speaker was introducing the results of their research when the feed was taken over. The video was 3D rendered in the Unreal Engine and features Tifa and an unidentified male character having sex. A senator can be heard asking, "What is this?" This, my friend, is Rule 34. If something exists, there is porn of it. The Senate speaker realized what was happening, asked the organizers for help getting rid of the offending guest. The individual who streamed the video was removed from the call. This afternoon was a very serious episode, a real attack against which I express absolute disdain. It's a real attack. Fuck. And right-wingers were making fun of Democrats for, you know, building up January 6th, but here the Italian Senate's like fucking showing hentai on the screen is a real attack. During an online conference, someone broke in secretly by transmitting a video with pornographic content. I can't even read it. I proceeded to report everything to the competent authorities so they could proceed to identify the person responsible. Who fucking cares? Zoom bombing is a new thing now, though few examples are as spectacular as this. The conference went on as normal following the interruption. Aw, damn, we actually have the video. Aw, fuck. If I had known.
Insieme alla loro
Yeah, I can't show that. Damn. If I had known, I would have been able to, you know, put a blur up beforehand. We totally could have watched this.
repentina accessibilità e alla loro affidabilità. Questo. Ma non è così.
So you can't see the male character's face. I assume it's a cloud. Shit. Let me see if I can get a angle here which is not gonna violate terms of service. It's just butt cheeks. Hold on. Go to way too much trouble. But it here. There, that should be okay here. There we go. That is what the video looked like that popped up. You can see the Senate over here to the right. Oh shit. And you guys heard the sounds that were
La ricerca medica e scientifica, insieme alla loro repentina accessibilità e alla loro affidabilità. Questo.
sounded like he said sex offender. I'm pretty sure Tifa and Cloud are both of age.
Ma non è così.
Scusate tutti, c'è una persona che si è introdotta in maniera scusate, non
You guys want to see for yourself? There you go. Oh shit. I just wanted the ability to be able to talk about Final Fantasy VII. Peter, yes, I'm well aware. I made a response video to Matt Walsh's response video. And it is some of my best work. I highly recommend checking it out. I am incredibly proud of it. I'll shoot you the link right now. That I destroy Matt Walsh. Boom, there you go. All right, let's talk about the Ukraine as we're still foreign affairs tonight. Allies wait on U.S. approval to arm Ukraine as invasion worries mount. Baltic NATO allies Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia are looking to transfer American-made lethal weapons such as anti-armor and ground-to-air missiles to the Ukraine. At least 3 European allies are waiting for the U.S. State Department to approve their requests to send U.S.-made weapons to Ukraine as fears grow of a multi-front invasion by Russian forces. The Biden administration prepares to ship a new batch of weapons to Kiev. Baltic NATO allies Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia are looking to transfer American-made lethal weapons such as anti-armor and ground-to-air missiles to the Ukraine. This is according to officials from those countries and people familiar with the discussions. But U.S. export control regulations require these countries to obtain approval from the State Department before passing along the weapons. That process can take months and is currently winding its way through the bureaucracy in Washington, despite statements from Biden administration officials that a Russian incursion could be days away. Let's hear what the president has to say on the possible Russian incursion from today's press conference.
He has 8 time zones, a burning tundra that will not freeze again naturally. A situation where he has a lot of oil and gas, but he is trying to find his place in the world between China and the West. And so I'm not so sure that he has David, I'm not so sure he is certain what he's going to do. My guess is he will move in.
Guess is he will invade. Biden said that Russia will be held accountable if it invades, but added that it depends on what it does. The Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, has said that economic sanctions on Russia wouldn't be a good thing, so thank you. Something I've said over and over again. The sanctions wouldn't hurt Putin and the oligarchs that actually run Russia. It would only hurt the Russian people who are not our fucking enemy. I was a big fan of straight up calling people dumb fucks. I do not tolerate bullshit lightly. Oh. The bans on places I can perform stand-up comedy. Like, when Facebook started targeted harassment, that was the thing, where you like tag somebody and call them a name and Facebook would ban you. That's where, like, I kept getting put in Facebook jail. I lost my Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. Because, like, I'd just be like, you're a dumb fuck. You're a complete fucking idiot. That's where the right-wingers or morons actually came from. That's how I'm able to insult people and get around targeted harassment. I needed an umbrella term for all of the people that I'm calling morons on the internet. Right-wingers, and they're morons. But anytime I say that, I do not tag a person. Like, I will tag them and say what I have to say. And then under it, I'll be like, right-wingers are morons. And I get around the bans. I haven't been banned on Facebook for a few months. Now, as for the reason I couldn't perform comedy at multiple venues, that's a story for another day. Or maybe I should tell it right now in the middle of this Ukraine shit. I was at a open mic in Asheville with at the time, a friend of mine, a female. She she's a bigger gal, but very pretty. And she was hosting the open mic, and I went up like third or fourth. And like I'd been going through a really hard time, and it was like payday for me. So like I went up early, and just as soon as I came off stage, I started like pounding drinks. I had a pretty good set. Apparently she thought she did bad hosting. So after I went up, the next comedian, person who is still my friend to this day, love her to death, name is Leah Garth. I told her she needs to do streaming. She would be excellent at it. She gets up and she talks about how she worked at a Dairy Queen and she sucked 2 dudes off in the bathroom and that there was shit and cum all over the walls. And she's, I'm like, this is my type of person. So she comes off stage and I go outside. I still smoked at this time. This is probably 9 years ago or something like that. So I go outside with her and we're smoking a cigarette together, and she and I hit it the fuck off. And she gives me her number, and she's going somewhere else to do another stand-up set. But I'm stuck at that club because my ride to Asheville was the gal who was hosting the show. So I go back in, I'm pounding more beers and shit. I'm getting drunk. We head out from the club, and we're walking down the street. And I'm texting Leah the whole time, and Leah is telling me like the nastiest fucking shit that she wants. She said I looked like Base Nectar. I don't get it. I don't think I look like Base Nectar. But that's like, she thought I looked like Base Nectar, and she wanted to fuck Base Nectar. And she had all these things that she was wanting to do. Now, my friend didn't know that I met somebody else, I guess, and that it was the comic that was up there talking about sucking 2 dudes off in a Dairy Queen bathroom and shit. She didn't realize who I was talking to on the text messages, I guess. So we're walking down the street, and she's got these 2 dudes she met at the show. And like, I thought she was like, you know, trying to mac on them or whatever. I'm texting Leah back and forth, and Leah's telling me all this shit. And it's fucking hilarious what she's saying, too, because she's a fucking hilarious comedian. So she's telling me all these things. I'm repeating it very, like, it's fucking midnight, and like the streets are, it's on Wednesday in Asheville, and I'm like yelling this shit down it because I'm very loud, especially when I'm drunk. I'm like talking about all like, I gotta bend her over and fuck the shit out, blah blah blah, whatever she's telling me she's wanting me to do to her and shit. I don't remember. It was way more witty, but like it was like 9 years ago. Apparently this rubbed her the wrong way. She didn't like the way I talked about women, even though it was what a woman was saying to me. And a comedian that was saying funny shit to me. We go into the restaurant. I still remember it to this day because I loved that fucking, I had this turkey melt, and it is still one of the best fucking sandwiches I've ever had in my life. I remember it so vividly. Had some kind of fucking orange sauce on it. But as I was waiting for my turkey melt, I go back outside, and there's these 2 girls walking down the street, and I smoke a cigarette with them. Not turkey milk, turkey melt. I know, southern accent. So I'm standing out on the street, and they're like, oh, we love your hair. Can we pet it? So I've got like these 2 hot women like petting my hair on the streets of Asheville. 12:30 in the middle of the night. I'm just having a grand old fucking time, right? I come back in, and all I see is my friends, you know, she had accentuated her titties very much. And I sit back down at the table, and I'm like, damn, girl, looks like your titties getting ready to pop out and order something to eat. Boom, kills with like fucking the other 2 dudes that are sitting there, but apparently it really embarrassed her. Comedian. So she goes back and tells this story to like everybody in the local comedy scene about how I'm very misogynist about the way I speak to women. And then I made an inappropriate joke about her bosom. Granted, when we got in the car, I knew something was up, and it probably, maybe if I'd let it blow over, it would have worked out differently. But I kept pressing the issue, like, hey, what's wrong with you? Something's up. What happened? I didn't know she had a bad night. I didn't know she didn't think she did good hosting. So she goes off on me about all the things that she did. I'm like, wait a minute, no, that's not right. And like I double down and tell her all the reasons why her issues with me are wrong. And probably did it, the way I fucking do it. So she goes and tells a very influential person in the comedy scene. His name is Hunter Roberts. And he makes sure that I am unable to perform at 3 different comedy venues. We actually had a thing back and forth. And he's like, I have worked hard to promote female comedians. I'm a big supporter of female comedians. By this time, Leah and I are fucking quite regularly. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking love female comedians too. That's why I'm fucking one. Blocked. So, do you know what I did? Went and found a bar and started my own comedy show and started hosting it myself. You're not going to let me perform stand-up comedy? I'm going to go start my own fucking show. Sorry, bitches. And I called it the NSFW Comedy Show. Not safe for wussies. Well, and I still don't think it's cancel culture. I think it's a big misunderstanding. I have a very close friend who was also very close to her. He messaged me and asked me, what exactly happened? I've heard her side. Let me hear what you have to, because he couldn't believe what she said. And when I told him from my perspective, he was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So it's just a misunderstanding. And I hate that I'm no longer friends with this lady. But man, and she did because she wouldn't perform on any show that I was on. She wouldn't come anywhere around me. And I don't fucking know why. It's And the reason why I even started doing stand-up comedy is because I got fired from my radio station in college. That's when I mentioned I've been fired from the same radio station twice. That was East Kentucky Broadcasting. That was the first radio station I worked for when I was a teenager. And then I went back and was news director later on. Got fired both times. Then I was fired from the college radio station I worked for. That's the one where I wasn't getting paid. I was the station manager. I ran my college radio station and got fired for what is called the stripper incident. I worked at a strip club when I was in college. I was the DJ. I say that sometimes. I work at a strip club and some people are like, you used to strip? No, I was the fucking DJ and announcer. I would announce the ladies as they were coming out. I do have a tendency to come off abrasive, and as people have said, my father had a face that people just hate. Automatic, it's the same thing with me. 60% of the people I meet hate me right off the fucking bat before I ever say a word. It's just the way I carry myself, just the way I look, my demeanor. I've gotten to the point where, somebody asked me about all the times I've been banned. The fuzzy holes is now the mouse's ear, which is wild. One night, all the strippers were in my booth. There was a pole dancing contest at the mouse's ear. I worked at the fuzzy holes. And they were talking about the pole dancing contest at the mouse's ear. And when I get on the microphone, I'm announcing the specials, and I say mouse's ear at the fuzzy holes. I am combative. What the fuck? One time, I worked for East Kentucky Broadcasting when I was a teenager. I went to work for the competition. It was called Q95. When I was at Q95, I was the news director. So when I was at East Kentucky Broadcasting, I worked like nights and weekends. I was the head board operator. So like I ran the place after all the day crew was gone. I had my own key, locked up, had to fucking do the code and everything. The Mouse's Ear burned down when I was still living there. So I go to Q95, and just one day they happened to ask me to look over the phones because the jock that was usually there went out to lunch. The secretary was out to lunch. Nobody else was in the building, which was a rare occasion. So like I'm sitting there and the phone rings, and I pick it up and I'm like, East Kentucky Broadcasting at Q95. Luckily for me, it was the sales director. And like, I was like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Like, just force a habit. I've never answered the phone here before. I used to answer it all the time on the weekends and on the evenings. And so she totally understand, but like, it's a good thing it was because like, my boss at that radio station was a total dickwad. He hired me because it's on my resume that I was president of the Young Republicans in high school. He was on the city council. He was like the only Republican on the city council. And he was always a very contrarian asshole to everybody. I didn't burn down the Mouse's Ear. Like, I would have tried to get a job there. So there you go. There's the story behind some of... I got fired from East Kentucky Broadcasting because if you guys have never watched, I do a segment called The Freakin' News on the YouTube. You can check those out every morning if you haven't. So that's actually a concept I came up with when I was at East Kentucky Broadcasting. I had to do a little news hit in the middle of Kid Craddock in the morning. Teapot Boy, welcome. Thank you for being a freaking follower. So I had to do this little news hit in the middle of Kid Craddock's dead now, but he did like a bullshit top 40 show. Firefighter arson thing is a myth. What the hell are you talking about? Huh? Firefighter arson. What? But I came up with this. I actually stole it from Keith Olbermann. Where I would do a news story and I would use a song under it that like made a joke about the news. Whatever the story was about. So this one is Boris Johnson lifting COVID restrictions. The song under it is Spreading the Disease by Queensryche. The fuck are you talking about, Teapot Boy? What? I have no idea what you're referring to. This is sadly an irregular occurrence. I'm not high enough for this shit or something. What's going on? I was telling stories. We were talking about the Ukraine. We were doing the actual news. And I got completely off topic, which tends to happen from time to time. Yes, I'm not high enough for this shit right now, but do check out the freaking news. Tomorrow is another banger of an edition. I do the news. I have spent most of my life in the news business. That's why I read the news on the Twitch. It's what I'm good at. You gotta, and like, people have asked me if I'd stream my video games. I don't think I'm ever going to do that just because it's my time. And like, I fuck around a lot on video games. I side quest a lot. I don't ever get to the main story. I couldn't do games because then it turns it into, like a hustle. And I don't want my game time to be a hustle. I have a friend who is a chef. And I tried to get her to do she's a bit of an exhibitionist. And I wanted to do a Pornhub show with her called Tits and Treats. She's a pastry chef. Tits and Treats. On the Pornhub. I thought it was a great idea. You got nice tits, too. I miss them. All right, let's go. Let's go to the boring shit. Talking about cavemen. Everybody likes tits. You got nice tits, too, Curious Earth. I know I talk a lot about your buttocks, but... How is this the good shit? How is this the good shit, Warlord? By the way, last night after the stream, I was having a little toke with my buddy on video chat, and we were talking about wrestling from last week, and I kept bringing up Wardlow, the wrestler Wardlow in AEW, and every time I mentioned him, I called him Warlord. And Jesse was like, you know his name is Wardlow, right? Oh shit, what have I been saying? Warlord. I'm like, Warlord Von Wolf. That's from my stream, I'm sorry. Oh shit. I was confusing the two. All right, let's go, Brandon. A Fox News reporter, I believe it's Peter Doocy, the son of Steve Doocy, asking Biden point blank, why are you moving the country so far left? First of all, in logic, this is called a loaded question. It has a presupposition built into it. That is false, by the way. How the fuck is Biden moving the country left? That's nonsense. He was elected by his donors to not fundamentally change anything.
How many more hours am I doing this? I'm happy to stick around.
Oh, he's fucking with him.
You always ask me the nicest questions. I know you do.
All right.
None of them make a lot of sense to me, but
Well,
hey, we're going to get another one that doesn't make any sense.
Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
See, it's an absurd question.
I don't know what you consider to be too far to the left. If, in fact, we're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that, in fact, would significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but make them, they have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pointed to the left. If you may recall, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am
a communist?
Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been. And mainstream Democrats...
No, the mainstream of the party is much further to the left than you are, sir.
8 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked. Yes, sir.
What a stupid fucking question, but it's just red meat for the Fox News viewers. Biden was also asked if his agenda needed to change, which I would say yes.
You mentioned your Republican colleagues, but right now your top two legislative priorities, your social spending package and voting rights legislation, are stalled, blocked by your own party after months of negotiation. You are only guaranteed control of Washington for one more year before the midterms. Do you need to be more realistic and scale down these priorities in order to get something passed?
No, I don't think so. When you say more realistic, I think it's extremely realistic to say to people, because let me back up. You all really know the politics of this country and your networks and others. You spend a lot of time, which I'm glad you do, polling this data.
Pelvic thrusts drive me insane? What?
Attitudes are, et cetera. American people overwhelmingly
I don't remember you ever coming up to me and thrusting your pelvic at me. Maybe you did. Maybe it drove me insane. I smoke a lot of pot. I might not remember it. That doesn't seem very much like you, though. What the fuck?
Overwhelmingly agree with me on the cost of education. They overwhelmingly agree with me on early education. They overwhelmingly go on the list on.
Oh yeah, the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
We just have to
Are
make.
we back on that again? That was the Halloween chat.
Look, we knew all along that a lot of this was going to be an uphill fight, and one of the ways to do this is to make sure we make the contrast as clear as we can. And one of the things that I think is we're going to have to do.
Republicans are fascist and Democrats are slightly less fascist.
About what we're asking. I'm not trying to. I'm
Pretty
not
clear delineation, if you ask me.
I'm asking for practical things the American people have been asking for a long time. A long time. And I think we can get it done.
You're not going to scale down any of these priorities. But so far, that strategy isn't working. You haven't been able to get some of these big legislative ticket items done.
I got two real big ones done, bigger than any president has ever gotten in the first year.
But currently, Mr. President, your spending package, voting rights legislation, they're not going anywhere. So
that's true.
Is there anything that you are confident you can get signed into law before the midterm elections?
Yes, I'm confident we can get pieces, big chunks of the Build Back Better law signed into law.
Bernie Sanders wants to split it up and make everybody vote on each individual piece. I'm all for it.
Who are going to oversee whether the elections, in fact, are legit or not, should not be those who are being put up by the Republicans to determine that they're going to be able to change the outcome of the election. So whether or not we can actually get election. And by the way, I haven't given up. We haven't finished the vote yet on what's going on voting rights and the John Lewis bill and others. But so, look, this is.
You can't even get Republicans to sign on to the John Lewis bill.
And I don't know many things that have been done.
Tim Curry's dead, though.
One fell swoop. And so I think the most important thing to do is try to.
You can't recast that character.
Inform the public of what's at stake in stark terms, and let them make judgments and let them know who's for them and who's against them, who's there and who's not there.
Who's for them and who against them.
That's what I'm going to be spending my time doing in this off-year election.
I'm a dream fucker now. that, my friends, sounds like sexual anarchy.
You live in sexual anarchy?
A dream fucker. Something the administration is moving on that I actually support is trying to take on all the shit that Betsy DeVos did to the education department. While their call for President Joe Biden to cancel student loan debt remains the central education priority for progressive Democrats, the White House has been quietly tackling major federal regulations that govern how the higher education industry operates, an effort that will put the administration's stamp on the college accountability agenda on which Biden campaigned. A panel is set to meet on Tuesday for a new round of negotiated rulemaking where members will debate and draft regulations on how the education department oversees colleges and universities, particularly for-profit schools and their ability to tap into federal funding. The unwieldy process, which will take months to finalize, underscores the Biden administration's intention to undo the biggest accomplishment of former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, who established regulations that sought to elevate the for-profit industry while putting in place roadblocks that curbed borrowers' access to loan forgiveness. Notably, the negotiated rulemaking session will take place against the backdrop of plummeting enrollments across all sectors of the higher education industry and a renewed recognition by Democrats that students need options other than four-year degrees, and in particular options that provide degrees, certificates, and credentials that match local workforce needs, which the for-profit industry has long sought to provide. For-profit industry has long sought to provide bullshit. We're reading from U.S. News, and not the best source. The for-profit industry is seeking to funnel public money into its coffers. Damn. Now let's move on to voting rights. The Senate debated today over the filibuster rules. We're going to see Tom Cotton. I don't know if we're going to watch this whole 20-minute clip, but we're going to see Tom Cotton go back and forth with multiple Democrats. What you got to say, Tom?
Things like ban voter ID nationwide and use your tax dollars to support political campaigns. They tell us that Americans are living under Jim Crow 2.0, and they cite the recent Georgia election law as proof. Well, let's investigate this so-called vote suppression law. Under the new law, the state of Georgia will have 17 days of early voting. If this is Jim Crow 2.0, then
I believe it cut the days, didn't it?
Because the Democratic leader's home state of New York and the president's home state of Delaware were engaged in, I guess, what you'd call Jim Crow 3.0 as recently as last year, because New York only had 9 days of early voting and Delaware had no days, 0 days of early voting. Next, I've heard complaints that Georgia has reduced the number of ballot drop boxes in the state, even though they now require every county to have a drop box, as was not the case as recently as 2018, and that Georgia's added new security measures to prevent fraud. Once again, I hate to break the news that the Democratic floor leader's home state of New York had 0 ballot drop.
The Georgia law extends voter ID requirements to absentee ballots. It sharply limits the use of ballot drop boxes. It does expand weekend voting during the early voting period. It requires large precincts to take steps to limit crowd length. Criminalizes giving voters food and water while they wait in line. That's a big issue when you're waiting in line 8 to 10 hours. It shortens the time between Election Day and any subsequent runoff elections from 9 weeks to 4, sharply contracting the early voting period for runoffs.
Boxes. And the president's home state of Delaware allowed for just 5 last year. And of course, one of the Democrats' favorite claims is that all those terrible Republicans down in Georgia have stopped campaign and political workers from giving food and drinks to people waiting in line at the polls. Where could Georgia have gotten such an idea? Well, as it turns out, the Democratic floor leader's home state of New York also has a nearly identical law banning such electioneering near polling places.
Banning such electioneering, and I bet they don't have as long lines.
A kind of new Jim Crow. That might surprise the 69% of black Americans who support voter ID. Now, what are they up to? This is a especially good question given the letter.
Now, the left has lost the argument on voter ID. The voter ID laws are very popular. The best we can do now is just fight to, if there's a voter ID law, they need to be handing out free IDs to everybody. That's the step we've got to take. Otherwise, it's unconstitutional because it amounts to a poll tax. I fucking blow Republicans' minds with this. I voted without a valid photo ID in 2020. I went and I showed my voter registration card. Why is that not a fucking enough? Why is that not enough? My license expired during the pandemic. I don't have a car. My license expired during the pandemic. The 2 times I had gone down before the pandemic to try to renew my license, it was like a fucking 4-hour wait every time. Another issue with voter ID. I just didn't feel like fucking waiting in line. License expired during the pandemic. I ain't going the fuck down there. So I voted without a valid photo ID. What's the issue with showing my voter registration card? How fucking hard would it be to come up with somebody's voter registration card? How are you going to commit fraud like that? We have to push for them to hand out free IDs to everybody if they're going to push for these voter ID laws. The reason why, the Brennan Center for Justice concluded that it was racist is because only 3 or 4% of the population doesn't have photo ID. Overwhelmingly poor people. And in this country, the overwhelming amount of poor people tend to be minorities. That's the way our society is structured. So, by using photo ID, the Republicans with surgical precision were able to peel off 1 to 2% of the vote in places. That is almost certainly going to go to Democrats. Surgical precision. And the reason why they argued it was racist was in court. Because you can't target people based on their race. So if you argue in court that they are targeting them because they are a minority, it violates the law. Because you can't argue in court that it just targets poor people. That's not a legal argument, unfortunately. But Republicans twist everything. I've told enough stories tonight. We're going back to Tom Cotton.
That 28...
Thank you for being a freaking follower, though, Apple.
April 7th, 2017. To the leadership around here, urging them to oppose any effort to stop the Senate's tradition and custom of extended debate. Some of those senators are on the floor with us at this moment.
I love it when they bring this shit up because they did change the rules.
From Hawaii. And the junior senator from Maine.
It's kind of weird when you're trying to use their words against them, but you guys did the thing that they were rallying against.
Mr. President, I would invite, through the chair, any of those senators, if they would like to engage in a colloquy, to explain why they have changed their position since they signed that letter on April 7th, 2017.
Because Republicans did the thing.
I guess I don't have any takers. I will point out...
Because you did the thing!
Will the senator yield?
I will certainly yield.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear it.
Senator from Maine.
I'm one that signed that letter. First, let's talk about the letter itself. What it says is, we're united in our determination to preserve the ability of members to engage in extended debate when bills are on
Senator Angus King?
I agree with that. The proposal that's going to be put on the floor today is one that will allow extended debate. There are 2 points that have caused me to modify the position.
Now, apparently, they're only talking about doing a talking filibuster.
The nature of the issue that's before the body. If we were here talking about immigration or gun control or any of the other many issues that we consider, I wouldn't be taking the position that I am. I believe that the rules of the Senate are important and that extended debate is an important part of the Senate process.
Fucking Republicans don't care about the rules.
Fundamental structural changes, not policy changes, but structural changes that I believe, in spite of your comments, that in many states across the country are compromising the ability of our people to express themselves in our democracy. I consider that qualitatively different than a policy difference. And that's why I am here today to talk about revising the rules, not blowing up the filibuster, but to get back to what the filibuster actually means. And that is extended debate.
See, they're not even talking about the nuclear option, which is what the Republicans did.
We're exhausted until we've made a deal, until we've come to a compromise. But the problem
because Democrats are feckless and ineffective.
Is a distant cousin of the real filibuster. The radical change in the filibuster isn't what's being discussed today. It was made in 1975 almost by accident. In 1975, they were debating whether it should be 2/3 of senators present and voting or a lower number, and they compromised on 60 senators of sworn members. That was the focus of that discussion, and I've talked to parliamentarians who were involved in that discussion. I asked the specific question, did they really realize what they were doing by creating the mail-in, dial-in, no-effort filibuster? And the answer was no. They didn't discuss it, they didn't think of it. So what I'm talking about here today and what the proposal that will be on the floor later is to do exactly what this letter says, extended debate. Extended debate. And that's why I believe that what we're proposing today is in the deepest tradition of the United States Senate. What we are trying
to be interesting to see what Cotton has to say back to this.
The cheap, easy, dial in from your office, 60 votes, de facto supermajority requirement, which is not in the Constitution, which the framers expressly did not agree to. They put in a lot of checks and balances. 2 houses of Congress, 2/3 voting on treaties, 2/3 voting on an amendment, confirmation of the President, the Congress, the independence of the courts. All those were checks and balances. One of them was not a supermajority requirement in the United States Senate. Hamilton and Madison expressly said that that would turn democracy on its head. Democracy ultimately is about majority rule. And there should be...
And a right-winger would be like, we're not a democracy. Man, we're a republic.
To offer
amendments. And you're wrong.
To offer germane amendments, I might add, and discuss and debate, but ultimately not have a veto. That's really what it comes down to here. Do you have a rule that says that the minority actually is in control of the legislative process? That's not what the framers intended. It's antithetical to what the framers intended. In fact, one of the reasons for the constitutional convention was the dysfunction of the Articles of Confederation, and one of the reasons cited for that dysfunction was a supermajority requirement. So, yes, I voted, what I supported 3 years ago, I still support. The language is full, robust, and extended debate. And that's what's going to be proposed later on. And if you guys will vote for it, this debate can go on as it should for weeks and perhaps months, because it's that important. But I don't have any apologies to make. If I have to choose between a Senate rule as it works now, which, as I say, is a distant cousin of the real filibuster, and democracy itself, I'm going to take democracy every single time.
Well, I thank the Senator from Maine for explaining the change in position. I was not seeking an apology, merely an explanation, since I haven't heard that.
Didn't seem like it was a change in position, did it?
I can respond to a few of these points. So the senator from Maine said it was the nature of the issue at stake. Well, first off, I'd point out I have the letter in front of me here. It's very short. It's only 2 paragraphs long. There's nothing in there about the nature of the issue at stake, about whether we're talking about immigration or gun control or, in this case, election takeover laws.
Not an election takeover.
I referred to the cheap and easy filibuster. I don't necessarily agree with that characterization, but I would point out that that's exactly the kind of cheap and easy filibuster that was in place in 2017 when 28 Democrats signed this letter. I also point out that I wouldn't necessarily agree with the characterization that the current filibuster was created by accident in 1975. We can have a debate, but the rules and customs under debate today go back to the second decade.
P.O. Beeson.
Second decade of the United States Senate.
Howdy from Alabama as well.
More importantly, every time those rules have been modified, up to and including the most recent changes on the legislative calendar, they've been modified in accordance with the rules, not using the nuclear option.
Spider Pickle, what's up?
So we can.
Is that a sexy ant? Not a sexy aunt, a sexy
we
ant.
had 2 other signatories that letter arrive. We have the senior senator from Colorado. We have the senior senator.
Could be an alien.
We have the senior senator from Montana. And we have the letter's chief Democratic author, the junior senator from Delaware. I asked earlier through the chair if any senators would like to explain their change in position. Since those senators have joined us, if they would like to explain their change as well, I would invite them into a colloquy.
Would the senator yield?
I'd be happy to yield.
It doesn't seem like he actually responded to Senator King.
I'm struck by your comment that in all previous situations,
been struck by a smooth criminal.
in all previous situations, that the rules have been modified by a change of the rules that is done through the regular rule process. Because I'd encourage you to read up on your...
They are debating ending the filibuster.
In fact, under Senator Byrd's leadership, 9 times...
in order to pass voting rights, the John Lewis Bill and the For the People Act.
And they didn't do it through a formal rules change process. They did it with an interpretation of the chair being sustained or by reversing the interpretation of the chair. And you've been here when a nuclear option modified the rules.
What the fuck? Amaru, what the fuck? That was alien ant form? You're fucking with me now, aren't you? You're fucking with me now. You're fucking with me now. Don't do that. Don't do that. I know you well. You're fucking with me. I know you well enough to know you're fucking with me. No, they're not going to make any progress. Manchin and Sinema are going to hold this the fuck up. It ain't going to happen.
To change the requirement for closing...
This is just to look busy until the midterms.
And you've been here...
The Democratic Party is done. The Democratic Party is done. Nothing else is going to get passed this year.
Not by changing the rules formally, but by reinterpreting it through a nuclear option in regards to decreasing the number of hours for debate on district judges. It also goes back to the fact that your team...
I hope I'm wrong. I doubt I'm wrong.
How reconciliation is done in order to be able to do tax cuts for the rich. And then...
They haven't even passed a budget yet.
On our side,
we're just operating on a continuing resolution. This is still Trump's budget.
For the Trump tax cuts of 2017 changed the rule again. So at least...
I'm so disgusted with everything that's going on.
Democrats and Republicans have resorted to reinterpreting the rules on various occasions. Just a point of clarification that your statement was wrong.
I appreciate the comments of the senator from Oregon, and I want to commend him for principled consistency on this question. He did not sign that letter. In fact, one of the earliest conversations I had with any Democratic senator in 2015 was with the senator from Oregon about some of these very questions. He has had these reservations about the cloture rule, about the rights and customs of extended debate. He has not changed his view on those positions, so I commend him. I will point out, he mentions the nuclear option on the Supreme Court. Of course, that simply followed what the former Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid did in 2013 on the executive calendar. I will also point out that that happened in February.
Because they would not give any federal judges a vote under Obama. They blocked everything, just the way they're blocking everything with Biden.
But if there's no more extended debate on this question, I would invite the senator from Virginia through the chair.
President, if I might respond. Senator Cotton, what Angus said. And I'm so glad Senator Langford has stayed in the room, because you've been saying we've changed our position. You just really need to read the letter, and I do appreciate that you put it up, because others were referring to the letter.
I appreciate that. Fucking Matt Walsh is a douchebag.
Exactly what you read. We are united in our determination to preserve the ability of members to engage in extended debate.
I like to think I gave him his ass
on the Senate floor. We couldn't even debate this bill. You guys wouldn't let us.
Just to be clear, this guy made a joke about how much I can bench press. This guy right here. It's kind of, I said I could bench press him. It's kind of kept me up at night. Could I really? I've tried to search out pictures of him next to other people standing. This is like the only standing shot I can find of him. Wanted to see him like next to Shapiro, Charlie Kirk and shit. Apparently somebody said on IMDb it says he's 6 foot tall. I kind of doubt it. I'm 6 foot. I'm also about 205, 210. Once upon a time in my life I was about 135 and I was very skinny. Now I'm not saying I'm muscle by any means. I'm fucking fat now. But like I could go heavyweight if I wanted to in the WWE. I think I look like her. Many people come up to me and are like, "You look like you shred guitar," and I'm like, "I wish I could." I fucking love music. That's how I got into broadcasting. Is like I wanted to be a rock star, but I ain't got no fucking musical talent. I can talk though. So.
You kept using the 60-vote block on the motion to proceed so that we couldn't get on the bill. In the 5 years since 2017, many of us have come to realize this is what we want, but the current abuse of Senate rules is blocking us from having discussions about voting rights or about matters that you think are important. This
Oh, now you keep giving me product ideas tonight
when bills are on the Senate floor, and that is what the
Dan Crenshaw stickers are a great idea.
When we vote on it later today, to move to a talking filibuster instead of a secret filibuster. The way to look at the rule change that we're going to contemplate later is if you really love the filibuster, and the word filibuster isn't in this letter at all, but if you really love the filibuster, do you demand that it stay secret, or should it be carried out open, publicly, in view of the voters and your Senate colleagues? That's what the vote will be. We have listened to those of you who have said, don't abolish the filibuster, don't nuke the filibuster, don't blow up the filibuster, don't weaken the filibuster. And the only change
he was like doing a dance with it there.
The filibuster be a public filibuster, not a secret one. And so you stood on the floor and asked if we would join you in that operative phrase, engage in extended debate when bills are on the Senate floor. The combination of the block on the motion to proceed together with the paper pocket filibuster where people do not have to show up to speak, much less to vote. We can restore the filibuster, frankly, to what it was during the vast majority of the Senate's history and require that people actually do it and be accountable to their colleagues and to the public, and that's what we propose to do.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I invite the senator from Colorado to engage in colloquy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that from the senator from Arkansas. I, just along the lines of what my colleagues have said, would also say that
the fascist from Arkansas.
Very clear that I don't want this place to turn into the House of Representatives. I think that would be a huge mistake. But
translation, I don't want the people represented. I don't like democracy.
To behave.
This is a Democrat.
And the history, admittedly is opaque, but it is very clear to me that the modern abuse of the filibuster represents very little in the way of traditional Senate practice or what the framers were considering. So I can imagine finding ourselves to a place where we actually have extended debate, where we actually have a public filibuster like we used to have. Everybody remember?
Yeah, you should have to Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in it.
Of the Senate versus the secret filibuster that acts as a perpetual veto by the minority on the majority, something that the framers clearly were trying to avoid, and at the same time gives the minority the chance to hold the floor, persuade the American people of their point of view, amend legislation in ways that is unimaginable in the House, and then in the end gives...
I like that they're all double masked now, after all the
all over the world that aren't
fucking
held up by the kind of veto we're talking about. There's not
outbreaks that have happened
that I'm aware
on
of.
Capitol Hill. They finally started really taking
Any
it
of the
seriously.
countries with which we compete that has a filibuster. So I'd say that other piece of this, the idea that we're going to seesaw back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, I think the reality is that's not what happens in other places that don't have a filibuster. And I believe we have the opportunity, if we're actually having a public debate, not sitting in our office or, off fundraising, but instead having a public debate on the floor.
Off fundraising.
That the American people...
That's how they spend most of their time, and it is disgusting.
For their position.
I am for public financing of campaigns. Take the money all the way out of it.
We don't ever get the chance to do that here because we never even have a debate in the world's most deliberative body. So if we've got a disagreement tonight about the form of all of this, my hope is that in the wake of this, if we're not successful, we actually do the American people a favor by creating...
You know what this Senate could use? Some hentai.
I have been here now for 12 years.
Italians know how to do it.
And I can tell you the Senate doesn't work. It can't get its basic business done, much less make hard decisions. And I think...
There you go, the back and forth with the Republican asshole Tom Cotton with several Democratic senators. I'm glad to see them taking it much more seriously on Capitol Hill. My heat went out last night, and I had to have maintenance come, and just as soon as they come to my door, I'm like, where the fuck are your masks? The hell? Come back in. I explained to him, I don't have fucking health insurance. Are you motherfuckers going to pay my bills if you give me the fucking Omicron? I don't think so. Don't go into people's fucking apartments without a goddamn mask on during a pandemic. What is wrong with people? Speaking of masks, Biden earlier today announced a plan to distribute... No, it says to announce. This was before the press conference. Biden announced a plan to distribute 400... I got the number wrong. My bad. I said 40 million. 400 million masks for free. Entering year 3 of the pandemic. Oh, God. Too little, too late. I mean, by the time the masks get to everybody, by the time you order your tests from the government website, we're probably going to be over the Omicron surge. We could be close to being out of the pandemic if a new variant hasn't emerged. But the Biden administration will announce on Wednesday that 400 million non-surgical N95 masks will be made available to the public for free at thousands of convenient locations across the U.S. Oh, they're not just shipping them out to everybody. Jesus. It's the largest deployment of... It's not like there's not a government agency that delivers to everyone's fucking house daily. How hard would it fucking be? God damn, we live in a stupid country. This is the largest deployment of personal protective equipment in U.S. history, according to a White House official. The masks are slated to be available at numerous local pharmacies. The Biden administration announced its intent to distribute masks nationwide last week. They're probably paying Walgreens and CVS, here, carry these masks for us. We'll give you a little money here to hold on to them and distribute them instead of doing the fucking correct thing and using the fucking postal service. We live in a stupid fucking country. The administration announced its intent to distribute masks nationwide last week amid mounting criticism over its response to the pandemic. The administration will begin shipping the masks this week, and they are slated to be available at pharmacies and other locations next week. Yeah, we threw out the website. Does somebody have the website off the top of your heads? Like cdc.tests. Just Google CDC tests. Or gov.test.gov or some shit like that. I don't have it handy. I should just put it on my notes from here on out. I'm sorry, guys, because I want you guys to have the information. But just Google government tests, and that should pop everything up for you. We should be offering free rides the way they did with Uber and Lyft to get boosters. What the fuck is wrong with them? As if we couldn't see this coming. We all saw this fucking coming. These were steps that the administration should have took back in July, at least. You guys are watching me on the internet, though. I'm not speaking to I'm not speaking to all of America. I'm specifically speaking to people on the internet. You all have Google. Her saying that was stupid because there's like 20%, 23% of the U.S. that does not have access to the internet. That doesn't have a fucking smartphone. They can just Google shit. That is an issue, and that's... The mail used to run quite smoothly for most of my life. Ever since about 2006... It was the Bush administration first. They've been chipping away at the U.S. Postal Service in an attempt to privatize it on behalf of the UPSs, the FedExes, the DHLs. For show and tell in first grade, I used to get up and sing a song about like how wonderful mailmen were and how you always got your mail on time every day. I swear, I kid you not. I don't remember fucking what the song was. It was some song I found somewhere, and I would get up and sing it for show and tell, because I was quite the showman. Mail used to be a fantastic service. I mean, I won't say that we didn't start having problems. You know, back in the 80s is when they coined the phrase going postal, because they were working postal carriers to death. Motherfuckers would snap and go in and shoot up the place. Just a sign of things to come here in this country. The Omicron wave has hit American hospitals disproportionately hard. We are the richest country in the world. We are also one of the dumbest countries in the fucking world. You're looking at a chart of hospitalizations per million. Look how much higher the United States ranks than the United Kingdom, Canada, Israel. I wonder why that is. Could it be our for-profit healthcare system? Could it be the lack of restrictions, mask requirements, vaccination mandates? I mean, there's not one single cause, but a multitude of factors. And clearly, the United States has failed. More people died in the U.S. during the 1918 flu. I'm sorry, more people died in the U.S. from COVID-19 than in the 1918 flu. That fact is insane to me. America is seeing more COVID hospitalizations than other wealthy countries during the Omicron surge, according to Our World in Data. Vaccines keep the vast majority of COVID cases out of the hospital, but vaccination rates are also lower in the U.S. than these other countries. U.S. hospitals, particularly the healthcare workers that staff them, are struggling to keep up with the workload. Now, it does seem like we are peaking in the Omicron wave in many places in the country. We'll probably be out of the worst of it here in like the next 2 weeks. But that doesn't mean that our hospital systems aren't still fucking buckling. To put it in perspective, the Omicron variant is just as deadly as the original variant. Not as deadly as the Delta variant. More transmissible, but just as deadly as the original variant. In the U.S., there are more people hospitalized with COVID than at any other point during the pandemic. Some of these hospitalizations are people who require care for other conditions but have also tested positive for COVID. But healthcare workers and experts say that regardless of why a COVID patient is in the hospital, they still add strain to the system. At least some other countries' hospitalization counts also appear to include incidental cases per news reports. You can also attribute a lot of this to vaccine information and hesitancy from people like goddamn Ben Shapiro. Apparently, LOL, AOC gives ridiculous COVID message. LOL, ridiculous COVID. We are mocking somebody talking about their experience with COVID. What a piece of shit Ben Shapiro is. Sorry if it feels like I'm picking on the Daily Wire here lately.
Let go of COVID. They just will not let go of it. It is their favorite thing in the entire world.
They will not let go of COVID. More hospitalizations in this country than at any other point. What is he talking about? And these motherfuckers talking about making shit into a political issue. What all do they drive into the fucking ground? How many segments you done about CRT or the vaccine mandate? But like the thing that is causing more hospitalizations than any other point during the pandemic, no. Why are they still talking about that? Fuck off. Right-wingers are morons.
Well, because it allows them to restructure everything. It's time for a great reset. It's not just about building back.
Oh, God.
Building it back better. It's not just about achieving prosperity. It's about achieving justice, social justice. It's not just about getting people back to work. It's about people never going back to work. So Alexander,
he's never going back to. What the fuck are you talking about? Straw man argument. It's a weird thing to say about justice here. 2 days after Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Struck by the plague while she was in sunny Florida. She came down to Florida for a vacation, like the good, responsible person she is. And
I don't think it was a vacation. God damn! Look at the fucking just disdain on his face. Look at this piece of shit. And I don't think it was for a vacation. I think she was campaigning. She is the #1 fundraiser for Democrats. I'm pretty sure she was there for a campaign event. If I remember correctly, it was Val Demings. But just the vitriol that he is spewing. Wow.
Dystopian hellscape down here in Florida to which she vacationed. She got COVID. And then she did her quarantine for 5 days, and then she issued a missive on Instagram. A very important message from Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. So fresh, so face, so brilliant, so magnificent, unthinkably special. Here was her message. Quote, "Well, so it happened. Got COVID, probably Omicron. As of today, I am thankfully recovered and wrapping up quarantine, but COVID was no joke. For a while, I've noted the term mild is misleading when the bar is hospitalization and death. No, that's not misleading. That's very often how we characterize disease. If you didn't go to the hospital and you didn't die, and you recovered within a few days, that's pretty mild. That's pretty mild.
No.
Which includes a range of conditions like cognitive impairment, POTS, and chronic fatigue. This isn't to be...
I didn't get tested because I don't go out. If I got it back at the end of August, which I'm pretty sure that I did, now Sparkles tested negative as well, but I'm pretty sure she had it and gave it to me. Because goddamn, it felt exactly the way everybody else fucking describes it. I don't fucking get sick. That was the worst sickness that I have ever experienced in my life. I would not describe that as mild. And I can't imagine what it would have been like if I hadn't been vaccinated. Because it felt like my lungs were absolutely full of mucus. To the point where I couldn't catch my breath. While I was only really sick for one day, really, really sick, it took about a week to really recover. You know, by day 4 or 5, that's when it felt like it was a little cold. A little cold is what I would call mild.
To be a downer or induce fear, just a reminder, we need to be careful. N95s in crowded indoor spaces like stores. And if you do get it, it's key to take care for yourself and rest. Okay, so first of all,
it may have affected my dick. I hooked up with a guy maybe a month after it, and there were other factors as well. I didn't have pot at the time. He got me high. He also had poppers, and somebody in the chat had told, like, I'd never done poppers in a sexual way before, and somebody in the chat was like, oh, you should do it. It's like I just like fucking do the nitrous out of my whipped cream. I did some poppers with him. I couldn't get it up. And I told him, like, it's just, you got me really hot. I'm sorry. He blocked me. Now, for those of you who are in the chat that are like, he's talked about being with dudes and he's talked about being with girls. Both tonight. Yes. Do not discriminate on the spectrum. I have even been with female to male trans. I've dated several trans girls, but I've been with a couple of female to male trans dudes. Yeah, he blocked. Well, we also had an whole argument about Mariah Carey. Apparently, Mariah Carey was his. We got a Smokey up here. Got some cat ass up in the camera. I actually consider myself pansexual. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, we had an argument about Mariah Carey. I said Mariah Carey was fine and dandy. She had all those bangers, you know, Always Be My Baby and shit. The one with the Boys to Men wasn't particularly my favorite, but I'll recognize it's a good song. By the time you get to Honey, when she's on that fucking yacht and shit, completely jumped the shark. And he took great offense to that. It was like, Honey had some bangers. No, Honey didn't have some bangers, and it was all over for Mariah after that. He took great offense. He was a big Mariah fan. I never liked Puff Daddy. Just saying.
First of all, I noticed that you were in Florida. I noticed that. And you were at...
Oh, did you notice that, Ben?
Other humans breathing on them, which is how you got Omicron in the first place.
She was
also,
outside.
Do you have any stats on how many of these cases result in long COVID from Omicron? She does not. It is to induce fear. That is the entire goal, is to induce fear. But the real thing...
We don't know.
Even when you're not all that sick, you are super duper sick. This is where she's about to go. The idea of forcing people to work just 5 days after symptoms start is sociopathic and 100% informed by a culture that accepts sacrificing human lives for profit margins as a fair trade.
Fucking Delta was the one that got the rule change.
No one is generally forcing people to go to work if they are heavily sick.
Bullshit.
And if you're like hacking up a lung in other people's face, people generally don't want you at work. But As a general rule, the idea that people are dying in mass numbers
tell that to Delta.
work after 5 days of quarantine from COVID is insane. That's crazy towns. First of all, Omicron is a very unserious form of the disease, generally speaking. It is 90%.
Wrong. Just as deadly as the original Alpha variant. Just as deadly.
Less deadly than Delta. Second of all, if you're young and healthy...
Less deadly than Delta.
...is never going to die from Omicron. Thirdly, the measurement of 5 days after symptoms start is the minimum. Okay, if you have symptoms that continue, you are supposed to stay home. Finally, the symptoms that are associated with Omicron very often...
Tell that to Delta.
...so mild that you don't even test for them. A huge number of people probably had Omicron and didn't even know it. That's not sacrificing human lives for profit margins. And what is she...
Bullshit. Fuck it. It was Delta that required the rule change because they said they wouldn't be able to keep planes in the air if there was a 7-day quarantine. Omicron did almost entirely replace Delta. I think it's like up to like 80-something% of the cases now are Omicron and not Delta. My worry is that there's another new one that's getting ready to spark off. That's the worry. And let's hope if there is, it's going to be less severe than Omicron, and we are heading into the endemic phase. God help us if we're not.
Even talking about. And by the way, if you took her really, really seriously, that you could never, quote unquote, sacrifice human lives for profit margins, et cetera, we should ban cars, right? Because the fact is that a huge number of people on the roads kill each other every single year in car accidents. The reason we allow people to drive at high rates of speeds on freeways is because people need to go to work. It turns out that part of living a fulfilled life is being able to obtain products and services at a price that you prefer to pay.
I'm into, okay, so Ben, like, I have this whole thing about speed limits. I don't think we should have cars that can go faster than 65. I would like to see more public transportation. Absolutely. I don't know about banning cars. But I think cars should not be allowed to go faster than 65. I don't know why we allow cars to go, because you can put a restrictor plate on them. I don't get it. Why do we let them go faster than 65?
Labor force means that you have to take risks in daily life. But according to AOC, you should never have to take a risk in daily life. Ever, ever, ever. Sacrificing human lives. I'm sorry. Who is sacrificing human lives by going back to work after 5 days of Omicron? Who?
They're still contagious. They're still contagious after 5 days.
Just going to ask you in the audience. They're going
continuing the pandemic.
Ever? Like you just took a Dayquil and you went to work? The answer
you shouldn't.
100% of people here is yes. And the answer is not
It
yes.
is because we sacrifice lives.
If you didn't work, you were going to get fired that day. It's because you didn't feel like taking a sick day. And also because, you know what? Is not
No. You would get fired.
For long periods
What's this idea of sick day? You think
people generally work because believe it.
Does Ben Shapiro think everybody's got fucking sick days? Like that's a goddamn thing in this country? What are you talking about? Sick days? I've not had sick days ever in any job I've worked. Ben? Ever? What the fuck?
Or not, most people want to work. Depression rates among the unemployed, particularly the long-term unemployed, are about 3 times the rate of the depression rates among the employed.
Correlation, not causation. Did you ever think that maybe the unemployed people, one, besides not feeling fulfilled and having a purpose, you need a purpose in life, but 2, don't have any fucking money. If you can't go out and participate in a society that requires you to pay for fucking everything, yeah, that's going to make you fucking depressed.
Having a job is a fulfilling part of life for the vast majority of people.
Okay, I will correct myself. I've had vacation days. The most I've had is 10 that I could use as sick days. Like, if I was out sick, I could take a vacation day and still get paid for it. There were no fucking sick days. Last television station I worked for, if I had to go out sick, I had to find my replacement. I had to get somebody to work in my place.
This is to acknowledge. It's something that Nancy Pelosi once said. Nancy Pelosi once said that if people were not wed to their jobs, they could become artists and musicians. And as it turns out, over the course of the pandemic, people were not wed to their jobs. They stayed home. They were forced to stay home. You know what they did? They got fat and watched Netflix.
Many people became artists and musicians. Many people turned their side hustles. I've seen several of my friends turn their side hustles into full-fledged businesses. Shout out to Rainy Morning Candles. He did it as a hobby at the start of the pandemic, and boom, took off. Ben is wrong. Ben is an idiot.
And we're depressed. That's what they did for a year. In blue states, they're still doing it. But AOC continues, if you've noticed, much of the emphasis of media conversations on COVID are individualistic. Wear a mask.
Yeah. Weird coming from a failed actor. All of these people, from Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Mike Rowe, all these right-wingers. Dave Rubin is a failed comedian. Oh, he was a writer? My bad. I thought he was trying to be an actor and shit. They tried to be in Hollywood and couldn't make it. That's why they despise Hollywood.
Protect yourself. Go back to work even with symptoms because you're fine, even if you're not. And while some of these recommendations are good, like getting a vaccine and wearing masks where appropriate, the motivations for them shouldn't just be selfish. It should also be because we actually give a damn about other people, our disabled neighbors, our coworkers who haven't said, and shouldn't feel obligated to say they're immunocompromised, etc. Okay, like this is a person who has no relationship with.
Also, I guess I'm going to have to pull this up here. This is a Ben Shapiro tweet from February of 2015. Spent the day watching my fully vaccinated 13-month-old and cough until it blew with pertussis because others didn't get vaccinated. Thanks, dolts. Ben's wife is a doctor with a dry pussy. He knows how all this shit works. How has she not left him for all this medical misinformation?
Real life. Yeah, I mean, that picture of her cuddling with her dog. This is a person who does not have a relationship with real life. She just does not. She lives in a box of her own making on Instagram. And go back to the post for a second. Like, that is so crazy that we...
Says motherfucker that's in an echo chamber that has a whole right-wing media fucking... cat ass in my face. It's a whole network that just amplifies his message all across Facebook. I know because I follow all of them so I can bring you guys these clips. So like when they share it, they all say the same fucking thing. They change the wording in the post a little bit, but they all share out the same story, the same videos, and like it's 5 or 6, 7 different fucking pages, all sharing out the same thing, so that if you're following all of them, you're gonna get to see the video. That's how they manipulate the algorithms.
What, you're supposed to never go out again because no one should have to say if they're immunocompromised? If you're immunocompromised, you need to take special precautions to protect yourself. But to expect no one else to ever go to work without an N95 again because you're immunocompromised is crazy. And when she said that it's too individualistic to think about getting vaccinated to protect yourself, here's the thing. I'm in favor of getting vaccinated to protect other people. The problem is getting vaccinated does not protect other people. Israel has a study out today.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Ben Shapiro.
4th dose of the vax does not prevent you from getting Omicron or transmission.
That has nothing to do with the point that you are making. A person who is vaccinated has far less of a viral load. The viral load determines how contagious you are. It's a smaller window if you are vaccinated. It is a smaller chance of passing it on if you are vaccinated. You do indeed protect other people. Combine vaccination with an N95 mask and fucking rates would plummet. That's a fact, Ben Shapiro, and facts don't care about your fucking feelings.
Admitting it. So what is she even talking about? What is she talking about? The whole point of the vaccines in the first place is that they were 100% effective. This was the original pitch. They were 100% effective.
No! No! No fucking scientist would ever say 100%. That is an impossible standard to reach. The smallpox vaccine, the polio vaccine, they all had breakthrough cases. That's not how vaccines work. Ben Shapiro. How has your wife not slapped the shit out of you?
Essentially. And they were also effective in preventing transmission. Which meant that if they were effective in you in preventing death, then you had nobody else's business in mind, right? Once you were protected, you were protected. And when it came to the idea of herd immunity, that disappeared very quickly in this pandemic. So she's just not connected with the science.
Oh, yeah. Todd gave her the critical race theory.
With this is, if you don't want to work, you should never have to work again. That is where she continues to go.
That is a straw man. That is a straw man. I'm sure she never said that.
He continues, it's truly bizarre to me that giving a bleep about other people is a polarizing political stance. But my dad used to say that life makes you repeat lessons until you learn them. Yeah, man, if she had taken that lesson to heart, maybe she would actually understand economics. And if there's one lesson I think we as a country are repeating until we learn, it's that community and collective good is our best shot through our greatest challenges, way more than discordant acts of rugged individualism and the bootstrap propaganda we've been spoon-fed since birth. Yes, nothing says success.
He's correct.
An innovative system quite like the heavy boot of government on your face forever. Amazing. Well, yes, what's getting us through this is the power of the federal government and state and local government.
It's just like straw man. Everything is a fucking straw man.
No less societal ones like healthcare, economic inequity, and racism. But we, as a collective, can confront them. In a world of me's, let's build team we. Heart.
I have indeed seen our productivity.
Gonna run for president. I will bet you dollars to donuts. In a world of
compensation,
me's, team we. Oh, you're so tired.
Productivity.
The only person AOC cares.
She will run for president, but it's not going to be now. It's not going to be fucking this decade. Nope. Ben Shapiro's an idiot.
As bad as AOC. She's the most self-obsessed human being walking the planet today. It is incredible.
Hey,
let's build team we. Anyway, that's enough for today. Stay healthy and blessed, and let's keep building.
So here's the thing that we learned from the lockdowns at the beginning of the pandemic. It didn't do that much to help the environment. Industrial waste is the main driver of climate change. They don't know what communism is. None of them can define it.
Love and solidarity. AOC. Yeah, that's great. Individualism is never a solution to anything. Communitarianism is the solution to healthcare, economic inequity, racism, climate change, global. Is there anything collectivism can't do aside from providing goods and services at an affordable price, not bankrupting entire economies and relegating people?
Oh, that's weird. That is weird because worker co-ops are actually more productive and produce better workers, and they don't ship your fucking jobs overseas. Way better for building a middle class.
To utter tyranny. Is there anything collectivism isn't good for? We should listen to the to this brilliant wunderkind, a truly inspiring figure.
He's way smarter than you, Ben Shapiro. Way fucking smarter. All right. Lynn Beck is going to expose some uncomfortable truth. Now. Played one of these last night. It was Dan Bongino talking about how the left was going to lose it over his announcement. It was just an ad. It was just an ad for something he was promoting. I am almost certain. Now, I don't watch this shit before I watch it with you guys. It could be a dud now, but I'm going to assume this is going to be an ad, probably for a stupid-ass book. But the headline caught me, the clickbait headline. He's going to expose some fucking truth. So, Glenn Beck, lay it on us. What's this truth you got?
Hey, just a minute.
Okay. So, The anchors at the TV station I worked for used to do these Facebook Lives before the show. Something like they hired in this new news director, and he came in and he tried to make the station like every other stupid ass station. And one of the things that he had the fucking anchors start doing was Facebook Lives right before the show. And they would do like, hold on one second, I've got the video up and I'm not going to talk to you. And then when I would do sound check, they would fucking like shush me and stuff. Like, no, motherfucker, we're 5 minutes out from the show. You check your microphone right now because I want to make sure you got a good level. And I'm the floor director. You take fucking orders from me right now. Me and that anchor had a little fucking come to Jesus talk.
I'm just watching the opening. We're getting ready to do a rehearsal for tonight's special here on.
What's Glenn Beck doing tonight?
Stage 19. I've got the chalkboard ready to go. We have.
Oh my God, he's got the chalkboard
that people were up till midnight putting together to kind of tell the story. I'm not sure I'm going to use a single magnet. But today is such an important show. It is
playing on us
on the Great Reset.
Oh, his book.
And, I just was going over the
white nationalist conspiracy theory.
This is an hour without any commercial breaks.
That the World Economic Forum didn't do us any favors by using.
I think this is
the name of
good primer, a very good explanation of what's going on in our country and what is coming. It is the Rosetta Stone for the.
I worked on the station that was on the mountain. Yes, so Way 31.
That you do take the time to understand this. Tonight at 9 p.m. on Blaze TV, and then I think at 9:30 Eastern on YouTube. You'll be able to watch it. You can subscribe now to the Blaze and make sure you get it. I would invite friends over to watch it with you. This one is really...
It started out as a conspiracy theory, but then that's where the neoliberalism got a hold of it. When the World Economic Forum used it as some kind of fucking...
a new idea.
Conference. Name for a conference.
Tomorrow, a little bit tonight if I have time.
See, it's not a new idea. It's
but it is.
Got white nationalist roots.
This is right out of... This is not a new idea at all. They're going to make this sound like it's a new idea.
You remember the FEMA camps from the Obama... era? That was that kind of shit.
And back in the 1940s, they're just digging old stuff up, as you'll see tonight. So anyway, thank you so much for listening today and watching my...
No, be glad you don't get that channel. They fucking suck.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please tell friends tonight to come over to the house, watch this special with you. This is a really critical special. I mean, I am shocked at how much progress we have already made.
It was just an ad for his special, which is an ad for his book.
Last week. Watch the special tonight. Tell your friends and join us. Share the YouTube.
And this slimy motherfucker was, I liked Samantha Bee. But you brought Glenn Beck on to try to rehabilitate his image, and then you turned right around and turn right back into this shit. Why did you believe him in the first place? Oh my God. Here you go. Here's a bat eating a banana.
He's in a filthy mood.
A filthy mood?
Colin found him low in his grevilleas this morning. So I think what's happened...
He's cute as fuck.
He may have come in to feed on the grevilleas and there just simply wasn't enough room for him to take off. It was quite a small yard. So he may have hit the house. But there's no injuries on him. See if you like another bit of name.
This is a rescue bat. Sounds like it's in Australia.
There's always room for banana. There's always room for banana. So he'll be in care for a little while. He's got no injuries. There's nothing at all I can find on him. Everything's working well. So you'll have a little holiday.
The bat is cute as shit.
Make sure that he's not concussed or that there's no issues. And you can go home.
Look at his little eyes.
You can have as much banana as you... Oh, he's cranky.
He's cranky. You're feeding him too much. His mouth's still full. His little cheeks are all stuffed. You try to stuff more fucking banana down his mouth. He ain't ready for it yet.
He's very strong as well. Didn't take too kindly to being captured, so we had to really, even though he was low, they're an arboreal animal that's very capable in the trees. So,
I can't believe I was always scared of bats. Like, they were very bad in my neighborhood growing up, and they would dive bomb you. Always scared of bats. But, like, look how adorable.
After a bit of a wrestle on the fence.
He looks curious, too.
Would you like a bit more banana? A little bit more banana?
Yeah, he's going to get him a bit more banana. The sound it makes.
Putting him into some bed rest if he'll stay there. Good boy, Mr. Forrest.
I don't think Sparkles showed up tonight. I'm going to have to send her this video. She loves bats.
So,
all right, if you're watching on Twitch,
from a rescue.
You are heading over to Echoplex Media. It is Wednesday night, so it's the Intellectual Dollar Tree.
So he's called in.
I'm sure you're going to be taking a trip to the Galaxy Brain Humidor. I can't tell if HK is there with him.
What's happened is that he may have come in to feed on the grevilleas.
You might even get you some Geordie Pete. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin.
There's no injuries.
We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol. Live.